The Legend of Zelda's titular character, Zelda, is the frequent wielder of the Triforce of Wisdom and often a princess who possesses great intelligence and magical abilities, which she utilizes to assist the hero in his adventure. In this way, Zelda has continued to shape the course of Hyrule's history and has impacted the lives of those around her through her actions and decisions. Skyward Sword reveals that Zelda is the mortal reincarnation of Hylia's spirit, and that her subsequent incarnations share her bloodline. Tears of the Kingdom sees the development of Zelda's character even further, and by examining the original Japanese version of the games, we can uncover how Zelda is referred to as a Miko, a Shinto shrine maiden with spiritual powers who serves as a bridge between the divine and mortal worlds, and ultimately discover what it is that makes Zelda a legend. To fully grasp the full meaning behind the Legend of Zelda within the Japanese text, we must journey back in time to the origin story that tells of the creation of the world. According to the stories of legend, in the beginning there was nothing but disorder and chaos. Within this chaotic space, 3 goddesses descended from the heavens and used their powers to create the world and all of the life within it. Before returning to the heavens, the goddesses left behind a symbol of their power in a land within the world they had created, the Triforce, an artifact that could grant any desire and manifest it into reality. This land where this divine artifact would rest would later become known by its inhabitants as a sacred realm, and the name given to the kingdom that would govern it would be Hyrule. In the Japanese version of the games, the word for sacred realm is Seichi, a term that carries unique nuances and connotations that don't exist in English. In Japanese culture, the term Seichi refers to a location where something of great significance first originated or was established. It is often used to describe the main temple, stronghold, or important area of the particular place it's associated with. The literal translation for Seichi can be rendered as anything along the lines of sacred land, holy land, or sacred earth. In the Japanese version of Twilight Princess, during the cutscene when Link is told about the creation of the world, there is a translation ambiguity regarding the word Seichi. In English, Link is told that when word of the Sacred Realm's existence spread through Hyrule, a great battle ensued, implying that the Sacred Realm was a place separate to the kingdom. Whereas in Japanese, it's Hyrule itself that is referred to as a sacred realm. Hyrule is the kingdom that was founded over the land where the Triforce, an artifact of the 3 ancient goddesses, was left behind, which would explain why Hyrule is considered to be a sacred place. It's important to note though that in Japanese folklore, multiple places can be considered as a sacred realm. This notion is reflected in the Japanese version of the Zelda series, where there have in fact been several locations that have been referred to as a sacred realm with the Japanese word Seichi. The Earth Spring where Zelda prays in the Elden region in Skyward Sword is referred to as a Seichi, and even Breath of the Wild's Great Plateau is also called by the same Japanese term, which is potentially connected to its suggested history as the birthplace of the Kingdom of Hyrule. This provides some clarity regarding the nature of what we know in English as the Sacred Realm. The Japanese term for Sacred Realm, therefore, does not necessarily only refer to one singular place, but rather multiple different locations can be associated as one by the people. At this point in Zelda history, in the Japanese text, emphasis is placed on Hyrule being the Sacred Realm where the Triforce was located. Returning to a time before the land was given the name Hyrule though, after the gods left behind the Triforce and departed the world, the one entrusted with the protection of the sacred relic was Hylia, a goddess whose story we learn about prior to the events of Skyward Sword, the first game chronologically in the franchise. Thus, when Hylia became the guardian of the Triforce, she also, by extension, became the protector of the Sacred Realm, or Seichi, where it would reside. Part of that place that Hylia sought to protect was referred to as the Surface in Skyward Sword. However, during the age of Hylia's reign, the Surface and the Triforce faced a formidable threat when a swarm of merciless demons emerged from a crevice in the land and wreaked havoc, destroying everything in their path. The instigator of this bloodbath was the Demon King Demise, whose ultimate goal was to claim the Triforce and subjugate the world for the Demon Tribe. This sacred artifact was sought after so desperately that the goddess, who, in an attempt to protect the surface and its remaining inhabitants, raised a section of the land and sent the people and the Triforce far into the sky, out of harm's reach. Hylia herself remained on the surface and engaged in a battle against Demise and his demons, and was successful in temporarily sealing him away. As the surface is the very first land that's referred to as a sacred realm in the Japanese version, this would mean that Hylia actually split the original sacred realm in two. One is now in the sky, which became Skyloft, and the other is what remained on the surface, which later became the Kingdom of Hyrule. So we've established that Hylia was the protector of the Triforce, but what else is she apart from being a goddess? Well, there's actually a lot more to Hylia that we can uncover by examining the Japanese text, beginning with the Japanese term kami, which is what's used to describe her divine status. While I've covered the complex nature of this word in a previous video, the diverse range of meanings and nuances it encompasses are important to comprehend and expand on in order to understand Zelda's true connection to Hylia. Traditionally, in Japanese folklore, kami are the spiritual beings or forces of nature that inhabit and influence the natural world. They are neither good nor evil. These spiritual beings are believed to inhabit particular places and elements of nature, such as the sea, mountains, waterfalls, or trees. Kami are also believed to possess the ability to control nature, providing protection in the form of fine weather and bountiful harvests, or causing chaos in the form of storms, earthquakes, and floods, depending on how they are treated. Throughout Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, in places such as the Temple of Time, Link can find statues and monuments dedicated to Hylia. Additionally, the goddess is mentioned in various historical texts and legends throughout the game, implying that she is worshipped by the inhabitants of the kingdom. This reflects a characteristic of Japanese culture, where, in order for a kami to remain as a kami, they need to be continuously worshipped. Respecting the kami by praying and worshipping them or holding festivals in their honor ensures their support, while dishonor and neglect can invite calamity. If a kami becomes neglected, they can become subject to becoming an oni, a type of fierce Japanese demon which is very similar to those among the demonic forces that attacked the land in Skyward Sword's prologue tale. After splitting the sacred realm in two and sending a part of it into the sky in the events prior to Skyward Sword, the goddess Hylia, or rather the kami Hylia, disposed of their divine status to reincarnate their soul into the mortal Zelda as part of their plan to ensure Demise's destructive intents would not threaten the world again. In Skyward Sword, it is revealed that every Zelda that appears in the series is descended from the bloodline of the kami Hylia, who was the original protector of the Triforce. In the Japanese version of Skyward Sword, Zelda is referred to as a Miko, a term that can be translated as Shrine Maiden. In modern Japan, a Miko, or Shrine Maiden, is a young female priestess who works at a Shinto shrine, performing administrative tasks, sacred cleansing, and sacred dances. Historically, Miko were female shamans who would enter a trance-like state to become possessed by kami and convey their divine messages, called takusen in Japanese. These ancient shrine maidens serve a Japanese kami and are viewed as a connection between humanity and the divine. Conveying divine messages, or takusen, was often done through prayers, and the Miko would also perform sacred dances such as kagura, which is literally a dance dedicated to the gods. Interestingly, in the Japanese versions of Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, Din and Nehru are also referred to as Shrine Maidens or Miko. Furthermore, the Oracle Din is depicted as a dancer, which reminds us of the dances performed by historical Miko in Japanese culture, and Nehru from Oracle of Ages is a singer, which was also another way that Miko would enter a trance to convey the words of a kami. The process to become a Miko was highly demanding and required intense intensive training that included constantly purifying oneself and exercising impurities, often done at a spring. Miko were also known for wearing white robes in Japanese folklore, which shares a strong resemblance to how both Skyward Sword Zelda and Breath of the Wild Zelda are depicted, with both wearing white robes and performing rituals and prayers in the springs across the land to awaken their powers. Therefore, not only is Zelda referred to as a Miko in the Japanese versions of the games, but what she does and even what she wears is very often depictive of one too. Once their training is complete, the Miko develops a spiritual perception, an ability that enables them to sense the presence of demons and infer the words and intentions of kami by becoming possessed by one. In Skyward Sword, Zelda as a Miko must also go through ritual purifications at 2 springs, and the kami who would possess her would naturally be the one whose spirit she's inherited, the goddess Hylia. After finishing her training and the rituals, Zelda is able to retrieve the powers and memories of the goddess, which could be interpreted as a form of possession. Zelda is then able to communicate the messages and intentions of Hylia to Link, and guide him with the words of the goddess who possesses her. This brings us to Breath of the Wild Zelda, who in the Japanese version is also referred to as a Miko throughout the game. Historically in Japanese culture, the social status of Miko was very high, and they were often in positions to support the government of the country, a characteristic which resembles Zelda's position as a princess with authority in the flashbacks. Much like her Skyward Sword's incarnation, Breath of the Wild Zelda also visits the springs while wearing similar attire to a traditional Japanese Miko to pray and complete her training as one. However, this time, Zelda struggles to complete her ritualistic training in order to awaken her sacred powers. She should be able to communicate with the spirits and gods, but she finds herself unable to do so. It's also worth noting that evil spirits are able to descend into the bounds of a Miko's body and influence their personality as well. And while I do not think that is what's happening here with Breath of the Wild Zelda, it's certainly interesting to keep in mind. In her diary, Zelda records a dream in which a female figure haloed by light attempts to talk to her, but she is unable to hear her words. Another way in which kami could communicate with their Miko was through what's called mukoku in Japanese. This term refers to the practice in which kami communicates their words, intentions, and messages to Miko through their dreams. While it's possible that the female figure who appears in Zelda's dreams may have been Fi, her mother, the spirit of the Triforce, or another entity entirely, I do believe that given Zelda's status as a Miko as described in the Japanese text, there's a strong possibility that it was Hylia. The term Miko that incarnations of Zelda are referred to is composed of 2 Japanese characters, the character for oracle or shaman, and the character for woman or girl. The first of these characters is on its own read as Kanagi. A Kanagi can refer to a kind of Shinto priest who has endured an incredible volume of rigorous training over an extended period. The fruits of their labor enable them to harbor a kami spirit within their body, and then convey that kami's keiji, which is another term used to describe this particular process of conveying a divine message. In fact, keiji is the exact same word that the monks who are found within each of Hyrule's shrines use in the Japanese version of Breath of the Wild. While in English, the monks claim they have been blessed with the sight of the goddess Hylia, in Japanese, they reveal they received Hylia's divine message, employing the term keiji. Considering the monks' ritualistic character and nature, it's implied that they have undergone intensive training and received divine messages or words directly from Hylia, which they then pass on to Link, much like a Miko would. Also on that note, in Ocarina of Time, there is another related Buddhist Japanese term used by Zelda when she meets Link for the first time. This encounter between the young hero and princess happens very early on in the game, straight after Link makes his way through Hyrule Castle's courtyard gardens. Zelda explains that she had foreseen Link's arrival from the forest in her dreams, and she compares him to the light in the darkness that would threaten Hyrule Hyrule in the future. The word Zelda uses in Japanese to describe this prophecy is otsuge, which is a very particular term that references the announcement of the intentions and prophecies of kami and Buddhas to humans. In other words, this would mean that Zelda had received this prophecy in the form of a divine message from a kami. Which kami that would be is left up to speculation, but it's very likely that it would have been Hylia, given Zelda's connection to her. Because of their ability to enter a trance to connect with paranormal beings and return with precise answers and deliver them to those who seek them, Japanese Miko are regarded as possessing a sort of paranormal power in historical Japanese culture. The title, The Legend of Zelda, therefore, in part refers to Zelda's legend of carrying out Hylia's divine role of looking over the Triforce and protecting Hyrule with her wisdom, ability to receive divine messages, and sacred power. The former is also emphasized at the end of the original Japanese version of Skyward Sword, with Impa entrusting the Triforce to Zelda, whereas the English version has Impa stating that she will be the one to inherit that role. Incarnations of Zelda are Shrine Maidens, who are Hylia's primary link to the mortal world and to the Triforce, but it would be a mistake to assume that they lack individuality and agency. A prime illustration of this is seen in the Wind Waker's Tetra. When the king entrusts her with the Triforce of Wisdom and the responsibility of protecting it from evil, he also reveals that she is the rightful successor of the Hyrule royal family, and thus Princess Zelda. Tetra is then transformed into Princess Zelda, a shrine maiden of Hylia. As a descendant of the goddess, she is obligated to protect the Triforce and carry out Hylia's will. While this does not diminish her strength of character or independence, Tetra is now fulfilling a role assigned to her from above, one that is connected to her lineage. Despite this, she maintains her own individuality, and during the final battle against Ganondorf, she fights alongside Link as Tetra, not as a subservient version of Princess Zelda. While Tetra's duties as the founder of New Hyrule may continue to tie her to Hylia's will, her independence and individuality remain a defining part of her character. Every incarnation of Princess Zelda in the Legend of Zelda series may share the divine blood of the goddess Hylia, but they are all individuals with their own unique personalities and traits. Zelda's existence as a shrine maiden gives additional weight to the impact and influence she has on the world through her own actions and decisions. The title of the series, therefore, is a testament to the importance of Zelda's character as not only a medium between the divine and mortal realm, but also to the impact she has on Hyrule and the world, as her actions and decisions ripple through time and shape the very fabric of the Legend of Zelda.
私にできることがある。これは私にしかできないこと。リンク、私を探して。